Jack, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'd remain standing for a moment, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the fantastic weather for our street fair. We thank you for a safe event and one of our best crowds ever. We ask that you bless all of those involved, from our service groups, our police department, our street department, the Firefighters Association, Rotary, our churches, our businesses, the concessionaires, everyone who touched the fair in some way. Lord, keep us vigilant tonight in our decisions, and we ask for all of this tonight in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Kathy, your roll, please.
Carter,
Here.
Walther, Powell,
Here.
Barstow,
Here.
Hayes,
Here.
Pickens,
Here.
Lee,
Here. Okay, we have a quorum present. First thing on the agenda is citizens' comments, and we've got something very special tonight. Mr. Fulton, would you please do the honors?
Yes, I'd like to introduce our new city planner, Jack Kuntzman. He started with us on July 23rd, and I'm pretty sure I can speak for everybody in the planning and zoning department that we are very, very happy to have him on board.
Welcome.
Congratulations, Jack.
Thank you very
Want
much.
to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. Like Mr. Fulton said, my name is Jack Kuntzman. I'm luckily was offered the opportunity to become the new city planner. And it's an opportunity that I'm very thankful for. Prior to this, I was the zoning inspector for the Village of Plain City, and prior to that, I got my Bachelor's of Science in Geography from the University of Ohio.
Very good. Well, welcome, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And you can leave now.
And I'll just say real quick, I know, as Scott mentioned, they are happy to have him, and I know Jack has jumped right in and has hit the ground running, which he really had no other option to do, so he's a great addition, so it's been great to have him.
And Scott, well, Zach had helped me with some MORPSI issues. Can I also come to you and have Jack work with me on some MORPSI stuff?
Yeah, by all means.
Appreciate that, okay. Thank you very much. So I'll be in touch with you, okay? Thank you. And again, you don't have to stay. Don't stay for the whole meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll stick around for a minute.
All right. Okay. Before we move on to, first of all, are there any citizens who wish to speak? Okay. We have another special guest tonight, Southwest Licking Sewer and Water representative for the city of Pataskala, Mr. Mike Fox. Name and address, please, sir.
Mike Fox, 69 Zellers Lane, Pataskala, Ohio, 43062.
Did you have to read that off your card?
I did,
Oh, okay.
yeah, because it's not even a used address.
All right. Now,
We don't use it.
Now, normally under citizens' comments, it's 5 minutes and we don't ask questions and blah, blah, blah. But tonight with Mr. Fox here, where you have unlimited time to discuss so that we can get a substantial update on what's happening with the Southwest Licking Sewer and Water District, and we will be asking you some questions, sir.
Okay.
So go right ahead.
First and best and biggest is the new water plant. It is scheduled to be opened at mid-January, end of January at this time. It's going to be producing 3 million gallons a day when it starts. We've got some increased use, or some increased capacity that's going to be going into it, and it's expandable up to 5 million gallons a day. And I have some pictures from start to finish, and not to finish, but to where it is today, and we'll pass those around so everybody can take a quick peek at them. Okay, Summit Road Water Tower. Here in the city, we just got done, we tore one tower down, we added another tower. It is a 1 million gallon tower. The cost of construction on that tower was $3 million, and it is slated to be completed November of 2018. The water treatment plant is a $15 million project. Most of this funding comes from either grants or amounts of money that we've put away over the years as part of our tap fees and that type of thing to pay to pay the fees back, pay it back. Summit Road water line, I guess there was some concern about, some of the stuff around Summit Road. That water line is a 12-inch and an 8-inch water line. I think there's a picture of it going around with you there. It is, it's good, there's a bunch of dead ends that the Sewer and Water District has out that way. They needed to be addressed. And, everybody should know, I think everybody's discussed sewer and water and how it all works. And if you got a loop, you got a much better system than if you got a dead end. So we're connecting in a number of these different different connections in the process of going up to the new site for the school district for another school building, actually 2 more school buildings. I guess there'll be an elementary plan somewhere in the near future right behind that. We are bringing enough capacity up there to handle those. If anybody recalls the last time around, the school district paid to bring that water up to them. This is not a cost for them. It's a cost for us as part of our improvements, capital improvements that we've decided we're gonna go forward with. And in all honesty, after that, quite honestly, we're probably heading up to Morse Road with that, right straight up to get to Morse Road for some businesses that are requesting it up and along that way. So that's gonna be a 12-inch and an 8-inch water line connecting. Havens Corners, Cable Road, and Summit Road will all be connected. It'll make one great big loop throughout over there. Construction on that is $1.75 million, and it is scheduled to be completed in February of 2019. Hollow Road water line. We've continued to work on the Hollow Road water line. We're in the process of putting up a 500,000 gallon pump station, 12-inch and 8-inch lines from the district outfill tank through Ellington Village, east on Hollow Road, south to Pataskla for the Fanning and Deagle site, and north on 310 to Shackleford. The estimated cost of that is $3 million, and it's expected to be bid before the end of the year, this year. In addition to that, we're actually going up farther north to 161. Again, at a request from a number of businesses up in that way. And we're just in negotiations on, how that gets paid for and how it happens. Another thing that I want to discuss tonight is something that I think we kind of let the ball drop again on it. We had some discussions about this and that and other things, and it just didn't work out for us because it was going to cost somebody money or somebody else money, and it just wasn't a good fit for us. A lot of us worked very hard on that. We had a lot of meetings. That being said, the district believes that the planned interconnect is of utmost importance to the city, particularly, and to us. We could have used the city instead of Fairfield County for a recent issue that we had. The city could have used us a time or two. There's just been a number of times. The Sewer and Water District is connected to Fairfield County. We're connected to Jefferson Township, to their water system. And for the city of Pataskla to not have a backup. I know originally this was an EPA mandate. The EPA dropped that mandate, which gave plenty of reason not to do it. I'd like to just see us simply say, here's the cost of the project, which I believe we already know, other than maybe some upgraded numbers. Here's the cost of the project, we'll do it 50-50 and let's get it over with and let's get connected. There is no reason in the world that we take that opportunity for somebody's water lines to go down and for us to not be able to respond to it quickly in western Licking County. So I would really like council to consider that and the city administrator to consider that and move on from there. Some of the other things that we've done that I'm pretty proud of, we worked on that were harder than I thought, but we got them done. If you're how I want to put it, a church or a nonprofit or an entity in Southwest Licking Sewer and Water District, you will not pay tap fees. If you already have a connection somewhere. So I talked to BJ this morning, today, to think, hey, if they're already planning on tap fees out there, well, this is city sewer and water, so there are no tap fees. Tom, the park out there, Tom is one of the ones that brought it to me. They were looking at 40, 60,000 somewhere to hook up bathrooms. And they already had a connection there that had already been agreed to and paid for
At the baseball park.
at the baseball park. So I don't know whether it'll come in handy for the city or not, somewhere down the line, but it may. But we know it will for some of the townships, Harrison Township, Etna Township, as they go forward. So basically what they're allowed to do is, if they've already got a connection there and they've already paid the original tap fee, and they want to put another building back there, it's going to be their building, but it's not going to be connected to the first or the second or the third. As long as there's enough capacity there, they can just do it. So there won't be, and well, I understand it's probably going to save you guys 40 grand or better. So, pretty proud that we were able to get the rest of the board to go forward with that and to move along with that. Some of the other things that we are looking at are more wells. We have a pretty good discussion going on with a very large tract of land in the northern part of the county, the southwestern, but the northern part of the southwest. And it quite honestly has been told to us that we're looking at 3 million gallons a day. It's not going to be cheap. It's going to be expensive. Some of the numbers that you saw flying around when we were talking about other projects, that's about what it's going to end up costing us to get up there and get back with it. We're in the process of working towards 161 by 310 to ultimately get up there with sewer, whether it's through us or through another entity. But there's a lot going on up in 161 and 310. Mr. Coughlin has a few buildings he put up there that he's running on a string for water. So hopefully we'll get that. Lynn's Fruit Farm would love to have water for everything that they have out there. Their wells are old, and a lot of the work that they do use are ponds. And those ponds, the EPA just really runs them over the coals for them to continue to use those ponds. So they're interested in that. Some of the things that we've done, that I've done to make sure that we're trying to keep you guys on top of everything, are the minutes that we send out. Tim and I spoke about it, their draft minutes. Our discussion at the board was we'd rather not hand out draft minutes until they're approved, so you guys get the approved minutes. However, if anybody wants a copy of the draft minutes, I can get them. We're just not gonna just send them to everybody because we're afraid there's gonna be just too many questions until it's all finalized, So, but if anybody would like to do that, whether it's BJ or Tim or Todd or whoever, utilities committee, anything like that, if they need them, we'll get them for them. Maybe we can run them through Nathan. You're different, Nathan. How you doing? I gotta meet you. My brother-in-law really has said a lot of good stuff about you. But yeah, maybe we can just run those through Nathan, and Nathan can keep on top of it. But hopefully those minutes are helpful. We're working pretty hard towards that. We know that there's development coming big time throughout western Licking County right now. I was very surprised to read your minutes and Scott's report about the number of subdivisions that are right now being slated. Quite honestly, if we promised all of our water away, those subdivisions are going to have to stop because we're not going to have enough water for them between both of us, I believe, at least for a number of years. I would suspect that within the next year, we will have everything finalized and all the test wells drilled and everything in place. Our biggest drawback is going to be approval by the EPA for a site that we're looking at now. We have another site that's out by 37 and 40, where we're gonna be putting, we started with one well, we've decided it's gonna go 2 wells. That's 500,000 gallons a day between the 2 wells, that are gonna be out that way. Kirkersville, which has always been a little island out there all by themselves, they've always had issues with their water. They're still having issues with their water, and we're trying to work out a grant that would, just basically cover everybody in the city of Kirkersville to where we can provide them with water. The purpose of that is 500,000 gallons a day that we can then start drawing from that area too, because we've got to protect our aquifer. Some of the things recently that we've talked about, there were some, I understand there were some people upset about water being shut off to school. Now I'd like to clear it right now. We contacted our contacts for that. Our contact is Johnny Morrison. We contacted Johnny Morrison, who immediately contacted the superintendent, who immediately directed Johnny to get porta potties up there. Thursday morning, they were on their way. We found out the closure was Wednesday afternoon, and by Thursday morning, per the superintendent, things were handled. And I just want everybody to know, we didn't close that down for Summit Road. We closed that down for Main Street. We were directed by ODOT to shut that water down. We weren't said, they didn't tell us, can you shut this water down? Can we go ask this person that? They don't. That's not how it happens. We're told to shut it down. So we start notifying people that this is what we have to do. So that is what occurred. Ultimately, what ended up happening, voting day, they did not shut the water off. They left the water on for voting day. Last Friday, it was all taken care of and completed. Am I off one day? Off a week. Or maybe off a week. I think I'm off a week. But the Friday that all occurred, it was done and complete, and I notified people on Saturday afternoon that the water was back on. I believe I notified you, Tim, Todd, and BJ. And as far as I'm concerned, those are the contact people that I'll send stuff to. Lee will also be doing that, and I think on Lee's is BJ. We just want more than one person sending stuff out, so we make sure it gets out here to everybody. Anybody else wants on that list, I'll try if I can get one of the ladies to show me a good way to do it to where it just makes a group and I can send it, but don't care. Anything we're doing is public information. I mean, it's stuff that you guys have every right to know. I'm not sure that you always need to, but you have the right to know it. But such as the school district and the fire department and the city, we have people that we typically contact. And those people were contacted. And but it was a surprise. We were not aware that at that time, that we knew there was going to be a shutdown. We just didn't know when. Basically, the shutdown occurred because they had 12 fire hydrants on one side of the street that they had to move to the other side of the street. And the only way to move an 8-inch fire line is to shut it down. So they shut it down each day, did about 4, and then opened it back up again. Which isn't what they wanted to do. I mean, they wanted it shut down the whole time. I'm not sure that that it was affected many people. There's not a whole lot of people on that line. The school is on that line, certainly. And I think part of the reason they wanted to do it so quick was because the school was on that line and school was getting ready to open. I did give you guys some information, but it's same phone number. You can get hold of me as you ever were able to get hold of me before. Email address is down here for you. Anything else that you need, we're open to. Anybody have any questions?
Anything for Mr. Fox?
Yes, sir.
I got a couple questions, Mike. The first one is, you talked about Fannin and Deagle being bid. When do you guys anticipate that water and the sewer will get there? Is it just, you've got the...
That is basically, Tim, where we are right this minute, is they're in the planning stage. We have acquired all of our right-of-ways, which were right through farmland, all the way from out by York Road. Actually farther than York Road, I believe. It was actually farther than York Road. It's the development that is, Kelly owns before you get to Outfield Road. That new development that's kind of been slow in coming. We have our water lines there. We went north from there across Farmers Field, went all the way up, and then we came all the way back across the Farmers Field until we hit right at York and Hollow. And then from York and Hollow, we're going right down the right of way, the rest of the way. So it took us a little bit longer to negotiate those terms to get across those Farmers Fields.
Any estimate on that construction, Tom?
I think it's gonna be bid out, so normally, once we get it bid out, to be bid in late 2018, I'm not so sure that we don't have, some information waiting for us at our next meeting, for us to vote, so. And then it goes through the bidding process, which, can take a month or so by the time, but we believe it'll be let out before the end of the year.
Okay. If I may.
Yes, continue.
We did talk a little bit about, the minutes and how I've read them, and sometimes it's tough to glean from them, almost like our own minutes, but our own minutes are also accompanied by a recording. And you said you were gonna check and see if there is a recording that is made.
There is a recording. They said they've been asked once or twice ever for a recording of it. And those are typically attorneys. So, but yeah, I believe, I know there is a recording. Kathy, do you recall when we had that little tiny tape recorder that you used to put out there, and that's how we ran meetings in here? That's what we're doing right now. I've talked a little bit about trying to get upgraded in that, so.
Yeah,
But you can. I mean,
posted them online.
it's a public record. If you want it, you call me. I'll put it in through the director, and he'll get his people to take care of it and get it out to people if you want a copy of that, if it's possible. I'm sure it probably is. We have a much smaller, we have 6, 7, 8 people total, and we're around one table. So probably everybody will be pretty clear.
On several occasions, you've mentioned that the concept of the push north, and you've also mentioned that the county commissioners have been key in prodding that, if that's the right word. They have asked the district to do that. They put it high on their priority list.
The way it came to me is that the county commissioners, and I can't give you the year, it was before I was on the sewer and water district, of course, a number of years ago, went through and determined whose service area was what out there. So we put a 208 plan in place that put us up there to get our sewer and water up in that area. The county has asked us to get into that. Alexandria has their own plant, but they don't have water, and they buy water from Granville. And about every year they renegotiate their cost. And I looked at their rates. It's not a very good thing. So that's one of the areas that, when we, as sewer and water district, we're required by law, not just to say, we're gonna go up that way because we want to. We better make sure that we've got everything in a row to say that we're being asked by entities to go up that way, we're being asked by businesses to go up that way. I can tell you that the construction, what's the name of it, Mike,
The what?
The construction company up there?
Robertson?
No.
Contract lumber.
Contract lumber, yep. Contract lumber has been unable to bring the rest of their people out to western Licking County from Whitehall because they cannot expand because they don't have the water. They're really hot on our list to get us up to there. They'll be one of the first ones that we end up connecting into because they'll be right there just north of Hollow Road.
On the board, have you guys had a philosophical discussion about whether that's a good idea? Whether it's a good idea to sprint north? Just because I assume sometimes you get lucky is the wrong word, but sometimes you actually find somebody that's gonna pay for that.
Mhm.
but sometimes you don't, or sometimes to go north, you need to build a new water plant.
I will tell you right now, we're going to Shackelford, which is way south of 161. It's way south of Lynn's Fruit Farm. From Shackelford, Lynn's may go ahead and decide, yes, go ahead, connect us in. We'll go north. We're not going north until somebody pays for it. I mean, that's just not something that can happen. Now, we're being asked to go north, and we're gearing towards going north because we've been asked to go north by Coghlan. I mean, that's no secret. They've got their 2 buildings up there that I did walkthroughs today. They're getting ready to open up. They've got a septic system that they put in place, and they bought enough property up there. There was an old house that had a well, so they put a tank in to get enough capacity just to flush the toilets. So, you know, they know we're coming, other than these negotiations, which I can't share anything with that. So once these negotiations are finalized, then that happens. And in general, when a 208 plan is there, part of what then happens out of that 208 plan is that you're pretty much required to be able to provide for that. If you can't provide for that, then it's free game and somebody else can provide for that. That free game, quite honestly, would be New Albany, which is Columbus. That's where New Albany gets their water from. I don't believe and this is my opinion, I don't believe the county commissioners would like to have Columbus heading out into western Licking County
That may be.
with their water. And I think that's part of why they gave us this vast area of property that needed to.
And my point for that question is, and you answered it partially by saying we're not going until somebody pays for it, but obviously if the district is choosing to go far away, right now it's represented by Harrison, Etna, and Pataskla, and that's where they primarily are. I have a concern about the citizens bearing the brunt of that effort to go north when the pressure is being put on the board, and I just wanted to know if you guys had that philosophical discussion.
It's a game of numbers. They go in there. BJ, I can't remember the numbers. You were there. What was Deagle going to provide in water?
What were they gonna?
Tap fee is going to be provided in water.
I forget off the top of my head.
$2.5 million.
Quite a bit.
$2.5 million. This is a $3 million project going north. I can guarantee you that the tap fees are going to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for the few businesses that are already asking to tap in up there. So ultimately, this all gets paid for by tap fees that will be coming in the future. So it's a calculation that we better make sure that there's enough tap fees. Now that doesn't include anybody that says, "Oh wow, all of a sudden I've got water and sewer going in front of my property," and then they start tapping in. Nobody is being forced to tap into that line. Nobody is being forced to tap into the Summit Road line. It's simply the sewer and water district knew we needed to make those connections. We knew that the school district, who I believe I know there's negotiations going on with the higher ups at the school district with the superintendent. He came to our last meeting to discuss some of it. And they just want to make sure that as we come up there, we have enough for them. So that was another one of the shots that we needed.
That
to
includes Woodside, nobody's being forced to.
No, nobody on Woodside is being forced to do it. Nobody is being forced.
Do you guys anticipate a rate increase?
Right now, oh, I forgot, I should have brought that up. Okay, since I walked in the door, I said, guys, I'm on the sewer and water district, and daggone it, I'm paying $11.95 a month for debt reduction. What can we do about that? We have had a study done that got put off for some things that we had going that we couldn't get it all happen, kind of not enough people type thing. It should be completed soon. Our hopes are that we do away with the debt reduction completely. and we just incorporated into it, the debt that the sewer and water district had in the close to $80 million is now down in the low 20s, which is not a lot of debt for a district of that size. And we believe that we can restructure our sewer and restructure our water and reduce the debt reduction fee. That being said, some people are gonna pay more if they're using a lot of water, and some people are gonna pay less if they're not using a lot of water. So every person out there, every senior or every single person in the house that only used 1,500 gallons a month was paying, the way our rate structure is now, was paying for 3,000 gallons a month. And in addition to that, they were paying an $11.95 fee on top of all that. They won't pay that anymore. And when that happens, obviously the rates are gonna change. We have not had a rate increase for, I believe the last one said 8, 9 years, is what it was certainly before I was there. But we were talking about how long ago, and then one person said this and one person said that, and I never got to the bottom to see, but it's been quite some time since we had a rate increase. So if it increases, I don't believe it will be a substantial increase. I believe that most people, just like we did a few years ago, we changed things and we hammered the businesses by changing things. I think the difference that we have is that we had that $11.95 reduction fee that it was gonna get lowered anyway, that we can lower and get rid of. And it may be easier pill to swallow.
That's all for now. Thank you. Give everybody else a chance to talk.
Mrs. Carter?
Yes. So, yes or no, there'll be no increase or there will be an increase?
I don't know yet. We've had a study done. They've been working on it for about the last 6 months. It should be coming in any time, and we'll determine from there. I believe that the vast majority of people will not have a rate increase, but I do know that some high users of water are probably gonna pay more.
So there's going to be a restructure?
We're gonna restructure it all and do away with the $11.95 debt reduction. And that also includes sewer, because you're paying that on sewer also.
So a person who used 1,000 gallons was paying for 3,000 gallons regardless? Is that
Not
how
any
you said
different
it?
than the way our structure is here in
Is
the
that,
city.
is
Yes.
that correct?
Mhm. And hopefully the restructure will be, we go by 1,000 gallons, but if we don't, there's still going to be, somebody that's only using 3,000 or less is still gonna save money, because they're paying almost $24 a month in debt reduction between sewer and water if they have both.
How are you going to communicate this to your users?
We have a newsletter that goes out, just like the city does.
How long
You
is
never get that newsletter,
No.
because you have a single tap that is run through your development.
Okay.
So if you want more, I mean, if you want the newsletter, I would say call May at the district office and say, hey, I'd like to get on the mailing list for your newsletter. They
Well,
can get that.
I guess my concern is, and it's the same one I had when I got on council, it's the same one I had when Larry Mead was the representative, it's the same one I've had since you've been the representative, that there's zero communication. I live over there, people don't know you exist, they think they're on city water, they don't know who to call. There's no auto calls when there's problems with the water. Summit Road gets shut down, we don't know that. I have people backed up on Summit Road. I mean, there's been no communication to the citizens on the west side of town. So is there gonna be?
I can look into it, but quite honestly, I know when we have a water shutdown, our guys, and I'm talking our second and third level administrators, that are the big guys in charge of everybody, put their shoes on and they go out and pass flyers out in that neighborhood. All of them, everybody goes out. So if we've got 100 residents that are getting ready to go down, those 100 residents get somebody at their front door, period. In this day and age, and they talked about how they could get phones, you can't call anybody anymore. Nobody's at their house. Half the people don't have have phones at home anymore. And cell phones change every other month sometimes. So for us to use phones, we never thought was gonna be a positive way for us to do it, like, the robocalls. You guys have it a little bit different. You got their kid in school, and they're gonna give you a number that you can get hold of. So when you guys do a robocall and say there's no school, then I think you're gonna get out there and do it. But for us, it would be unbelievable to keep up between Harrison, Etna, and the city of Pataskala.
I guess I'm just confused on how you're gonna plan to continue to expand but operate with people putting stuff on people's front doors for notification. I mean, there's gotta, if you're going to continue to try to grow.
The chances of us
and go
cutting down
forward-
that much water is nil. That doesn't happen very often. We
I'm
may
not
get
talking-
100 people that we have to shut
I'm
down.
not talking about just shutting down, I'm talking about everyday issues when somebody says, oh, my water's brown. Why is my water brown? Like if there's something that goes on, they don't know who to call.
That's an administrative call that they should call the administration. They're paying their water bills. If they're
Then how
paying their
do they
water
know
bills, they have to know who their water and sewer
Who
is
the
through.
administration is. That, no.
It's on everybody's bill. I'll get you a copy of the bill. I'll email you a copy of the bill tomorrow so that you can see it. They give information on that bill. If they know of a shutdown coming up, they tell people prior to. It's all mandated by the EPA. It's
So
not
I'm
us just deciding we wanna do
So I'm a
this.
single tap user, so being more involved with the city, I know what that means. Nobody else around me knows what that means, so they don't know who to call. They call the billing company that they pay, and they say, oh, we just facilitate.
They don't
water."
pay a billing company.
Yes, we do.
They pay the city sewer, well, you pay a billing company.
Right, that's
If
what I'm
you're
saying,
a resident of the city of
single tap
Pataskala
user.
and you pay, if you're a resident of the city of Pataskala and you pay a bill, you pay your bill. It comes to you, Mike Fox, 11540 Broad Street, here's my bill, I have to pay it.
No kidding.
Now, the responsibility
I
of
had no
your,
idea that would happen.
of your people, the people that you're paying the single tap to, you're paying it to somebody.
Mhm.
You're paying it to an entity, and it's not us.
Right.
So the only responsibility we have is to that entity that is paying to us. We can't take care of
I
everybody
think
in
what
the
she
world.
mean, like trailer parks and condos and stuff that have the
We're
one
still the
tap,
end user.
they don't have anybody to talk
Right.
to.
And the
I'm sure
company.
they do. All they've got to do is they've got to contact their people that they pay their bill to, and they're instantly gonna say, here's the number for the sewer and water district, that's where we get our water from.
That's not what happens.
Well, I can't fix stupid. I
So-
can't.
That's
I mean,
interesting.
to me, that's
Is there-
stupid.
Is there, okay, so is there somebody there, during the day that they can call?
Oh, yeah, there's a phone they can call 24 hours a day.
24 hours a day? And
Somebody
somebody's gonna-
answers it 24 hours a day.
A live person answers the
A
phone?
live person answers it 24 hours a day.
Okay. Well, I think we'd all like to have that number, so.
Okay, all right, it's the emergency number for the sewer and water district.
Anything else, Mrs.
And
Carter?
whoever's on call that night,
No, Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
as you know, it was stated you can't fix stupid, so we might as well just wrap the discussion.
All right, anybody
Ms.
else?
Carter,
Have a nice evening.
let me explain something to you.
No, thank you.
You're asking us to do
Mr.
something
Fox.
that we can't,
Mr.
as
Fox.
an entity, do.
Mr. Fox?
We can't contact
Mr.
somebody that may
Fox.
be standing over here that gets water from us through the landowner. We just can't do it, it's not our place.
Mr. Fox, we're gonna move on with some more
Okay.
discussion. Anybody else
Anybody
have any
else?
questions for Mr. Fox? All right, seeing,
Just real quick,
Yeah.
as far as like communication goes, I mean, I don't think any of us up here need to know like every little single issue, but if there's like something like we had last week or 2 weeks ago with the water shutdown, could you just maybe send out an email, something that might affect something bigger like that?
At that time, you sent out an email in which our director and the director sent it to me.
Right.
If the director, he may answer it, but he's gonna send it to me because I'm the representative for the city of Pataskala. When I got that, we contacted you.
Yeah,
I did,
fair
the
enough.
director contacted you.
Right.
At that time, I said, okay, there's people that are getting interested in this. I started putting Tim on, I started putting Todd on. I think the mayor may have gotten one or two of them, and BK. And that's who we feel we should be contacting. If you wanna be contacted every time, tell me, and I'll send it to you, because are you saying that I'm sending you too many emails now?
No, not at
Okay.
all. No, I was just saying, like, if there's gonna be something like a water shut off, big things like that, if you, I mean, I don't know if you communicated to Todd or Tim or BJ about that.
We did,
Okay.
Wait a minute,
we did. Pardon?
that was after the Summit Road. That's the first one that I got.
I'd suggest you look at your emails,
I'll go back and take a look at
because
them.
we were notified on Wednesday, and Thursday, for the best way to put it, all shit hit the fan. So I'm telling you, from Thursday on, you guys have been getting every single thing that has happened in the sewer and water district that you need to. I've notified you about Aetna, outings in Aetna. I contacted the city and said, we've got an outing, 100 residents, I believe I said, and I'm figuring your people are gonna start getting calls. If they do, direct them back to us.
I have no doubt that I have received numerous emails since a week ago Thursday. I think that before that wasn't the case.
No, no.
So,
At that time, we were contacting BJ King and Nathan as the city contacts. Is that pretty much what you understood?
I have to look back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's, I was told by our director, that's who our contact was. I went to the superintendent at Licking Heights and sat down with him and actually talked to him and said, who do you want us to contact? And he gave me 2 names to contact, his secretary and Johnny Morrison. We always had Johnny Morrison's contact name before, his secretary is new. But those are the people, those are the only people that they're gonna try to reach out to, because those are the people that are in charge of that organization. And they're the ones that really have to know. Superintendent's gonna say, go get porta-johns, or school's closed tomorrow. BJ's gonna say, you know, okay, what actions are you taking? I'm telling you what, our people go door to door. That's how it's handled right now.
as a final note, I think when we have a boil alert in the city from the utilities department, the electric signs go up, the robocalls go out, social media is notified, and handbills are placed on doors.
Yeah, and the website's updated then too.
And the website itself is
So,
open.
social media is always notified whenever we have an outage over a certain number of people. That happens all the time. They're on a list, they're not on my list, they're on another list that Chad, typically the second in command, handles. In addition to that, he contacts the police departments, the fire departments, anybody that they've got a list to call, they contact them and say, this is how it happens.
So you're saying it's very similar to what we do, except you don't have electronic signs.
Right, we don't have electronic signs. We couldn't afford
Now, I'm not,
$24,000 each.
I'll be honest with you, since I live in an area of the city that's served by the city utility department, I don't know,
Mhm.
I don't know what means that takes.
Other than the first year with the sewer and water district, we never didn't have water. And I've had water from the sewer and water district for 23 years, 24 years at my house. We've never had we had a sewer problem with the sewer smell, and it was because something was clogged somewhere, and we're the only one in a long section, and it was just coming straight out the roof because it needed another vent, but they corrected that. So, we never had any communication with them other than our bills. So,
Any other questions?
can I ask you a question?
Well, hang on a second.
I do. What is the name of the social media that you use? Which,
I'll get that from you. We'll contact the director and ask him.
you don't know?
No, I don't know. That would be somebody, in fact, the director wouldn't even be the one to do it, it'd be the second in command.
Any more questions before Mr. Fox asks a question? Yes, sir.
I guess, Mike, I'd like to see you here more often,
Okay.
maybe once a quarter, and that's just speaking for me. But the way I found out about the Summit Road project was, excuse me, I was driving down Summit Road one Sunday after leaving church, and I saw all this pre-positioned activity, and I thought, oh, what's that? And then I noticed there are all these pipes piled up at the old Summit Town parking lot, and I thought, oh, what's that? So I think VJ told me, oh, I think they're gonna do something on Summit Road, some sort of there was no announcement to us.
At that, for the construction,
Yeah,
Jason, your street superintendent, is contacted by Chad,
well,
who is our second in command.
okay.
And that's where that goes through. That being said, you know, the way this project is working, they are closing one side of the street 100 yards at a time, and they're handling it with stoplights.
I know, it's just that, that's what I'd like to see more often. So that you would tell us directly, hey, we have this project coming up Summit Road, and this is what it's gonna be. And then-
I'll be honest, and I won't be afraid to admit it, I didn't know about Summit Road. That was determined long before I was even there.
Well,
I knew there was a project going on Summit Road, but I didn't know, I knew it from here, because we had talked about it in utilities.
okay.
But wouldn't that be something you have been discussing in the last couple of years in all your meetings, that this was coming up?
It had been bid out a long time before.
Wasn't on
They
your
were waiting
future,
for permits.
wasn't on your list of 2018 projects?
We don't have that other than in our budget.
Okay.
And our budget is substantially larger than your budget. So to go through and read, you know, a small, what was that, the Summit Road project, 1.75 million, that's a fairly small project, but it didn't become an issue to do it quickly until the school levy passed. And they started negotiations with the superintendent. And quite honestly, the last line they paid for, this line, we're doing it in-house to take care of some loose ends. And one of the loose ends is that, which should have never happened, was that school being a dead-end line in the first place. If anybody recalls back, the school paid a lot of money for a tower to sit out back, just to cover their fire. And we're putting in 8 and 12-inch lines, so the 12-inch line can go to the school district.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Barstow? Yes, ma'am.
I do. I'm looking at, I did find the Southwest Licking Community Water and Sewer on Facebook. Is that what you guys use?
I don't know what they use. I don't do it. It's not
Well,
my
I'm just
job.
confused because you had said that everyone gets the information when it affects the residents in the community. Is that correct?
No, the people that need it get it. If there's 100 people, the way the sewer and water district is set up, and I'm sure the way the city is set up, we can shut a valve off here, and we can take 10 people out,
Okay.
and nobody else is affected by it.
Sir, but on social media, like, it's not like you can just, like, focus on just the people that were affected. So if it's social media that you're using, that you're gonna, like, blast it out on your social media site and.
We've never had a large outage that would be necessary, but I've heard it on T100. when
So
they
you
had
don't
an
use
issue.
social media, or you do?
Oh, they do. I know they use social media.
Because I'm seeing the last time you guys updated, it looks like it was a couple of years ago.
Well, I'm not sure what they're doing with their
So
webpage.
no social
I'll
media.
look into it and I'll find out.
Okay, any other questions before Mr. Fox asks his question? All right, go ahead, sir, with your question.
How do you guys notify your people? Do you call them? Robocalls?
We have a robocall system set up that we're able to identify certain areas, and those people, if, you know, say it's Mill Street, we can identify just those people and make a call just to them. We do social media, Facebook.
And you go door to door, don't you?
We do go door to door. We do, our website, we notify the media. So we cover all of our bases, every way that we have available to be able to notify people.
Yeah, because my understanding is that's how they do, but robocalls are not effective for us. We're spread out across the city of Pataskala, Etna Township, and Harrison Township. We're covered over, city of Pataskala is 30-some square miles. We're substantially larger than that. And we have areas that, have never lost service, and we have areas, we have problems. We had the one where we had the boil alert, where we lost 100 people. We instantly switched to Fairfield County. And the only reason we had a boil alert was because that line going to Fairfield County hadn't been used in so long. So we had to make sure that we were covered.
All right.
So, but I would really like whoever's got to do it, let's get back on board and get this interconnect done. because it's, you know, it's gonna help both, well, it's gonna help the city, certainly. And I believe that, the money's been appropriated a number of times at the Sewer and Water District for their share of it.
All right, thank you, sir.
Mike, I'm just curious, because I think it was before my time on council. What was your position on the interconnect when you were on council?
I have fought for the interconnect since 2003.
Okay, I wasn't sure, I just wondered if you're being on council and on that board, if you learned something that would make it more valuable to us, if you've always been a proponent of that.
I always have been. I've always thought it was a good time. I've always been, quite honestly, furious that we never made the connection back in 2005 and forward when we were originally supposed to do it. I was there when they negotiated, and I asked some pretty stiff questions that I understand were used in the court battle to try and get things straightened out. So I've always been on it, and I'm still frustrated that it hasn't been hooked up. And quite honestly, it isn't gonna affect the Sewer and Water District hardly a bit. I mean, there may be a day that we say, oh, if we hit this, you know, but it's, the way the Sewer and Water District is, where all our lines are backed up and gone through and, you know, but I do know for a fact that there are times that the city could have used it in the recent past that would have been great to have it. Flip it on, they got it. And that talks dollars and cents, guys. When you have to call a contractor out to do a project and they have, you know, 24 straight hours to do it, you pay dearly for it, because they're not, you know, they're not cheap, and they're working all night to get a project done. If we can turn water on and help the city, then it's a good thing.
Thanks.
Okay?
All right, thank
Anybody
you.
else?
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak tonight? All right, introduction, discussion, and approval of consent agenda matters.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Hicken. Discussion? And roll, please.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Consent agenda passes on to reports. Street fair was off the charts, fantastic. We actually even did a ribbon cut during the street fair at the Out of the Woods Salon, and it was kind of neat because it was right there with all the action. So I think there's been enough said about the street fair, but a huge success. And I'll let you report on what else happened at the street fair. Mr. Hicken.
Just a reminder that we do still have PBR and records committee openings. We're waiting to post them and fill them, but a reminder to council about if you know anybody good for those positions, keep them in mind, bring them to the administration. That's it.
Mr. Zetz?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Mr. King?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple items. Remind council that this coming Sunday, August 26th, the blessing boxes that council previously approved will be installed. First one will be at the water booster station in front of Kroger at 12 p.m. That's what they're inviting people to attend if you're able to make it. Second one, I want to open it up again to council if anybody would be interested in taking a tour of the police station. Walls are going up now. A lot more to see than there was before, and it's really coming together. You can see what it's actually going to look like. So if you're interested, let me know. We'll get it scheduled. I'm going to go ahead and jump, with Nate not being here, just a couple of things for him. The new belt press that council previously approved has been ordered. The renter, the loaner, is currently here working. And then also the Mill Street water line project started today. If you recall, that is connecting 6 customers, I believe, to the 10-inch water line that was there, and we're going to ultimately abandon the 6-inch. So, happy to answer any questions.
Anything for BJ?
Mill Street will be closed for a week.
We're anticipating it being less than a week, but we've made notification of a week.
Date again on the blessing box. I know it's at noon.
August 26th, Sunday.
Thank you.
That'll be in front of Kroger at the water booster station.
Very good. Mr. Nicholson.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things on the agenda tonight. There's a resolution, 41. This is the annual housekeeping. The Licking County Auditor provides us with the rates and amounts of property taxes for next year. We're required to have council accept them, and we send that document back to the auditor's office. So that's on the agenda for tonight. There is an amendment to the supplemental appropriation. Our income tax collections, as you know, have been trending better, which is great. Correspondingly, our collection expenses and refunds and legal costs have also gone up. So the sections 5 through 8 will amend the supplemental to include those increased appropriations for those tax collection fees. I put an analysis on each of your desks, just to briefly walk you through the very top. Year to date, if you look at about the fourth line down, expenses as a percentage of revenues. So year to date, we're running about 5.8% cost of collections, including refunds and the like. The original budget was 5.21%, so we're light. The revised budget would have us up to about 5.86. I think that number will probably be closer to 5.6, 5.7 by the time it's done, because I think the revenues will come in trend better. But I was a little reluctant to be overly aggressive in increasing the revenues, just in case if they don't collect, then I don't want to overestimate. So that's in the supplemental appropriation for tonight. A couple of things real quickly. The banking services RFP, we received 3 responses. They've been analyzed, and I've prepared a document. I've given it to the finance committee, so we'll see where that goes from there. The Auditor of State has awarded us the award of distinction. This is the 8th time under Auditor Yost's program. He is going to make a physical presentation. He'll be here Wednesday at 4 p.m. to present the award. We're quite proud about that. Finally, we are having some interviews next week for the accounting clerk position, and we'll see where that takes us. That's all I have.
Anything for Jamie? All right, very good. Thank you, sir. Mr. Haynes?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one thing to add tonight. That's Mr. King and I met with the folks from KFC about the concern over on International Drive with Mr. Hughes. They were very good to work with. In their words, they didn't want to cause problems. They just wanted to sell chicken. So true to their word, they got their storm system taken care of. I was out Friday before last during the decent rain and checked that out. Everything seems to be functioning properly. Now that they've addressed that, and we'll keep an eye on it, but it appears to be good for now. Happy to answer any questions.
Does Mr. Hughes know?
I have not contacted Mr. Hughes yet, no.
Let's do, yeah, I say personal visit. No, I just think that he would love that. I can do it, or you, I think you would know more.
We will certainly do that.
What was your question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Mrs. Hayes, what did you say?
I could do that.
No, I didn't hear what you said.
Contact
Alan.
Mr. Hughes.
What's
Mr.
that?
Hughes?
Yeah? Are we gonna reach out to Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Okay.
We're
Mrs.
good?
Carter?
It was Tim that said it, and I just was like, holy hallelujah, yeah. So, absolutely.
Mrs. Carter?
Alan, the 2-week closure of Cleveland Road
Yes.
on August 30th.
Yes.
Tell me you've communicated that to the powers that be over on that side of town, please.
I believe that to be correct. Looks like we-
Absolutely. When Dr. Wagner and I were meeting about that, I mentioned it to him. We've also let the transportation department know about that. It could have happened sooner, but at their request, we pushed it back so they could get into the swing of things with school and not have it starting from the beginning.
Can we get the signs up so we can let folks on that side of town know, because that is highly traveled. It's an
Absolutely.
artery between,
Yeah, we'll get those up, now
Taylor
that
and
they're done
Summit.
being used for the street fair, the mass electric board signs.
Yes, we're gonna do some work on Headley's Mill, finish up our culverts that we replaced there, we were letting them settle, so we're gonna put the concrete in, and we've got the message boards out there. As soon as they're done there, we'll move them over to Cleveland Road.
very good, thank you.
Anything else for Alan?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Alan or BJ, have we got the last 2 signatures for Main Street?
We have not yet, just got information from AEP today about a potential, as you know, they were looking at potential alternatives, and received that this afternoon and have a call on Wednesday with them about that, so I'll update council after that call, what the
Okay.
status is.
When, is that with AEP?
That is with AEP.
Would you ask them, when you talk to them, once that's done, what's the time frame?
That would actually be up to us with our contractor doing the work, so I think it would be shortly after we get all the easements.
Okay, so AEP isn't doing the,
Correct.
they would just hook everything up?
Yes, yeah.
Fair enough, thanks.
Well, I just wanna, personally thank you and BJ for your help with, street department, doing all the work for the street fair. It's running a lot smoother now that we have the rules in place on what, the, association needs to do, and I just appreciate it, because without that, that help, it just wouldn't happen, so. And again, when I look at the people, so many people marvel at, okay, the new electricity and all that stuff, that was a lot of money to put in there and to keep the street fair alive, and it was a great community event, but I keep telling people it's a joint effort between the city and the street workers and everything, so I thank you very much.
Appreciate that, I'll pass it on to Jeff.
And I just had one quick question. I was so pleased to see that, we get out so much information to people. They just have to read it. But on the city website that came through on one of my posts or sites or something, you had mentioned that the company was gonna be coming through and striping the road, which was like, okay, when we've ever done that before? That's fantastic to let people know we're gonna be striping Broad Street. But the email went on to say that we were working with the company, and the company assures us that that will not be during peak hours in the morning and not at peak hours at night. And lo and behold, at 5:30 in the afternoon, they came through and striped with, of course, a nice long train of cars behind them. So I don't know if you knew that. I know we can't do everything in-house. I sure wish we could, because I know that wouldn't have happened, but we're obviously not gonna invest in striping equipment. But I just wanted you to know that company probably needs to, if they assured us that it wasn't gonna happen at 8 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock at night, that didn't happen. Plus, are they gonna, now here's my next question, all the arrows and the onlys and the little cross stripes, that's not included?
It was not. The striping itself is everything that's thermoplastic, and all the thermoplastic is what we had replaced and had restriped. The transverse lines are not, and they did not quote us on that.
So,
was
okay,
much
so all the
grand
turn-only lanes and the crossbars and all that stuff's not gonna get done.
We had some savings, and we were gonna, once we get the invoice for that, we were gonna look at what that total cost was and see. I would still like to get the stop bars done. Like I said, I did not realize, I did not catch it all. That was not included. I thought that it was, but it was not. So I'd like to see if we can at least get the stop bars, even if we can't get the transverse striping or the arrows.
Cause I was a little leery of the $30,000 to stripe all of Broad Street, and then I thought, okay, there's more than just the lines, but then the lines didn't get done, so they made a quick $30,000 going down Broad Street, turning around and come back and leaving, so that's.
So keep in mind, we're talking over 7 miles of roadway with thermoplast, which is a more expensive paint, so not much, didn't come much as a surprise to me for the price.
Well, but I guess I would have liked to seen everything done. I was
Okay.
envisioning everything done, so not just the lines, but anyway, okay.
I will look into that more, because I know like I said, it's less expensive paint for the transverse line and such, so we might be able to get a little bit more for the savings that we had without costing too much more.
Very good. Thank you for
Yes, sir.
answering my question. Anything else for Alan? Mr. Fulton?
Thank you, Mayor. Update on the comprehensive plan. We had held a second public input session on August 8th at COTC. And then our third steering committee was held last week on August 16th. After our steering committee, OHM, our consultants, asked to be placed on a council agenda in the near future so they can come in person and update you. Talking with Kathy, we have them penciled in for September 17th. And also on the rezoning for Mr. McClellan, which is the trucking company on Broad Street, on the 10th, the zoning inspector, Steve Blake, was able to work with the police department to have 2 semis and a car towed out of there. So we're continuing to move forward on that, so we're making progress. Thank you to the police department for helping us out with that. And Steve went out today. From what he says, we have about 4 to 5 minor issues, and we should be free and clear to revisit this. Code violations will be addressed. So what I've asked Mr. Blake to do is, once he's comfortable that all code violations have been addressed, to go out and we'll have kind of before and after pictures for council. So he has some initial ones when we started the code violation process. He'll attempt to recreate those pictures so we can see it before, when we had all the code violations, then an after, where we can see the current state of the property. And once we get to that point, we'll let council know that all violations have been abated in the eyes of the zoning inspector. We'll provide photos, and then we'll let council determine if they want to proceed with the rezoning. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yes, ma'am.
When's the next comp plan meeting? When's the steering committee meeting again?
The next steering committee meeting, I want to say off the top of my head, is September 20th, but I will confirm that. And sometimes when they do meetings with council, or like we had with the public meeting, sometimes that shifts. So I think it's penciled in for arguably the 20th, but I will confirm.
Anything else for Scott? All right, next up, Lanier Gaga Ball Crawford.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
I got a couple things on the list today. This is opening week for soccer, and we have 46 teams.
Wow.
So Saturday is going to be a busy day. We also have a fundraising event going on Saturday morning as well. So hopefully that's going to be a success for the recreation program. Second thing on my list is the Liberty Park Bridge. It's coming along pretty well. He added an ADA. I would say, I'm not sure if it's compliant with ADA, but it really looks good. 2 ramps that added to the bridge. Added the gravel, more boards, and also bolts. So I think that project is nearing the end. Once it's complete, he may come in or I'll come in and I'll bring some extra pictures for you to have. Besides that, that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anything for Lanier?
I have one thing quickly. Tonight at the Buildings and Grounds Committee, we met with 2 scouts who had already been to the board.
Evan and Gary.
Yep, and I want to make sure that you know that we said there's some more communication that's going to have to take place between them and you.
Okay.
So,
That works.
and if you, I'll give an update on it on committee reports, but
Okay.
any other questions you can
Refer to them.
grab hold or ask me.
Okay.
And I just want to thank you again publicly for helping us down at the street fair by striping the road so the tractor pullers could have some boundaries, and they enjoyed you immensely. So thanks for reaching out and continuing to intermix with the community and the fair.
You're welcome. And to add on to that, at the street fair, I went on Saturday after the parade. I was down the tent for 2 hours, just randomly asking people what's the best way to communicate with you. And everybody that I asked are all demographics, newspaper, social media, got a lot of telephone, call me, I'm not on Facebook, and a lot of emails. So just trying to figure out ways to really get things out to everybody so they're not dumbfounded.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I think we've solved our Broad Street striping problem.
That was me.
There.
Lanier, what are you
It's
doing
only
this?
7 miles long.
I walked the whole time.
What are you doing this Sunday, Lanier? Very good. All right, thank you. Chief Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to announce that we had a relatively uneventful street fair. Crime was actually down. We made just a couple minor arrests, but for the most part, everybody behaved, and the street fair parade was probably a record at 1 hour and 50 minutes. So hopefully we got people on their way in a more reasonable time. That's all I have.
Very good. Well, I want to do some kudos out to Sergeant Wrights, who manned the booth all week, and it was amazing. He had put out a sign-up sheet for the ladies' defense class, I think.
Yep.
The Citizens Police Academy, and there was one other one. I can't remember what it was, but he filled up all 3 sheets. So they're gonna keep contacting these people and letting them know to keep them interested when our dates are gonna start on that. But that's a first, and so kudos to him for the guy who works 3rd shift, but came down and worked every day in the booth and with all his displays and stuff. So huge success.
Not only does he work 3rd shift, he actually got married last weekend and he pushed his honeymoon until after the street fair.
Isn't that amazing? Yep. Yeah. Okay, thanks, chief, appreciate it. Committee chair reports?
I have one, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Buildings and Grounds Committee met this evening, and we were given two presentations by two Eagle Scouts. Both of the young gentlemen, Mr. Gary McCreary and Mr. Evan Legg. Mr. McCreary made a suggestion that he has already run past the Parks Board, who thought that it was appropriate, and just kicked it to Buildings and Grounds before us. It is a veterans flag system for Freedom Park. It would go up just adjacent to the shelter, more or less at the corner of Taylor and Havens Corners Road. There'd be an American flag in the center, flanked by flags of each of the service organizations, National, Marines, Navy, you know what I'm talking about. He's also going to do some planting. We did ask a lot of questions of him. We made some suggestions. We asked him about who's going to take care of the flags when you're gone, who's going to replace them. He pledged to look into that. He is on a fairly tight time frame because I'm sure most of us remember, but just in case you don't, you have to get your Eagle Scout by the time you're 18, and he turns 18 in January. So, all in all, we did make a recommendation that he be allowed to start this project and put it in the park, and I will be making a motion to that effect under the motion section this evening. The second project was very interesting. It was also approved by the committee. It is a Gaga ball pit, and I had no clue what a Gaga ball pit was, but I think it's because my kids are older and I'm old too. It's basically kind of a dodgeball inside a hexagonal arena pit, where the ball has to be underhand or open-handedly slapped, get hit, you're out. And apparently it's insanely all the rage for kids of all ages and all over the city. So at the park board's suggestion, he is going to locate that in Liberty. He is going to put rubber mulch into the pit itself to keep foliage away, because it's not going to be concrete. It's going to be secured. He did pass out all the specs on it. He's going to use treated lumber that's unpainted at the suggestion of the Parks District. And we also said that voted to approve that. So that'll probably be included in my motion at the end.
Which park is that at, Mr.
Liberty.
Liberty?
Liberty, he still needs to get with Mr. Crawford to determine the best location. And so we recommended that he do that, but saw no reason to stop it. He also has a rather aggressive time frame, although he doesn't turn 18 for another year. So, happy to answer any questions about either of those projects.
All right, any other committee chair reports? All right, seeing none, on to old business ordinance 2018-4322 for a second reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hicken and seconded by Mr. Barstow. Kathy, when you're ready, second reading.
Ordinance 2018-4322. This is the second reading, an ordinance to rezone the property located at 12164 Broad Street, parcel number 063-142278000.000, totaling .89 plus or minus acres in the city of Pataskla from the medium density residential R20 zoning classification to the general business district GB zoning classification.
Discussion?
Scott, I have a question. I mean,
Sure.
it's maybe a dumb question, but I mean, I drive by that every day, and I know that he wants to set up a garage door business. He already has a sign up there that says garage door business with a phone number and trucks, and what's up with that?
It's been there since I've got here,
Okay.
so I don't know, is it grandfathered? I don't know. And then the other difficult thing that, to you or I, we could drive by and say, well, you're probably running it from there. But there's no way for us, there's no way that we can find out. Because we could ask him and say, are you operating a business here? He says no. Then the burden of proof is on us to prove it. So the sign has been there. I don't know when it was installed. Arguably, we could say he's currently running it there, but we have no way at this time to prove it.
Yeah, from what I know of this gentleman, he's been around the area forever. In fact, he's the man that came out and fixed your garage door
Okay.
when you called and asked. What he does is, you know, he comes and fixes, there's no garage doors at his place. It's more of a truck sitting there, and if Mr. Barstow says my door's broken, he goes and fixes it and come home. Which, again, I don't know what that does or doesn't do as far as having a business there, but there's not tons of garage doors in stock and all that kind of crap. It's kind of a repair business, and he goes out and fixes your doors.
And he does a fantastic job, I might say. I love my new garage doors.
Yeah.
It's flippin' awesome.
So, anyway.
Well, if that is the case, the way it sounds, it would require a conditional use home occupation in order to do that. Because he's using his home as the headquarters, even though there's nothing there. He's using it as a headquarters as his place of business. So, if this were to go through, then we would require a condition or a certificate of compliance to say your proposed use is in compliance with the zoning. If this does not go through, based upon what we've heard this evening, then we'll require a conditional use home occupation to make sure that the business is then legal. So we kind of have a fork in the road until this pans out. Once we have a determination, then we'll decide which way we need to go to make sure the business is legal at that location.
Very good.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, ordinance 2018-4324 for a second reading.
So move.
Moved
Second.
by Mr. Higgins, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Kathy, when you're ready, second reading.
Ordinance 2018-4324, this is the second reading, an ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2018.
Discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Mm-hmm.
I move that we amend ordinance 2018-4324 by substitution.
Got a motion to amend?
Second?
Seconded by Mr. Hicken. Discussion? And roll on the motion to amend.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Hicken?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion on this second reading? Thank you. On to motions.
Under old business? Mr. Mayor?
Well, I'm sorry. Resolutions? No. Motions? No. On to new business. Yeah, I can do motions at the end. I'm sorry. New business, ordinance 2018-4323 for first reading.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Hicken. Kathy, when you're ready, first reading.
Ordinance 2018-4323, this is the first reading, an ordinance approving and adopting the current replacement pages to the City of Pataskla codified ordinances.
Discussion? All right, resolutions. Resolution 2018-041, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
So, second.
Moved by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Hicken. Discussion and roll.
Hicken?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Resolution passes. On the motions, Mr. Hicken.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that the city council approve the two Eagle Scout projects. First, the Gary McCreary Veterans Project at Freedom Park, and the Evan Leg Gaga Ball Pit at Liberty Park.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Hicken and seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to, because I had the same concerns at the park board meeting that the Buildings and Grounds meeting had about the veterans type memorial at Freedom Park is a fabulous idea and be beautiful, but it is a really aggressive project in a very short amount of time, with lighting and poles, and so I'm not sure who would oversee it or who would help make sure that that stayed on track, but I would hate to see us get partway in and be stuck. So,
Is that our role, BJ, to, since we're partnering with an Eagle or not? I hate to put a burden on our street department, but you're right, if a half.
but what if it's halfway done and then
He doesn't make his deadline.
he doesn't make his deadline? Now, I'm not saying that he wouldn't finish it through even though,
Right.
but still, I mean, I just wanna make sure that,
Yeah, at that point, if he didn't meet his deadline and he abandoned the project, we'd either have to decide to go in there and take it out or complete it,
finish
which
it.
would be city funds to do.
He seemed pretty confident.
he did.
He said his entire family were laborers and they were gonna help him,
Those
and,
poles are expensive. He wants
I
to do
know.
a full project.
yeah.
He's talking 5 or 6 poles, light, the hedges.
I don't think any of us are saying that we can't do
Concrete.
it, we just wanna make sure that we have a
Right.
plan in place if it,
Just
plan B,
because of,
plan B, that's it.
just because of the extreme, we don't have an Eagles with that,
Aggressive.
I mean, that's a huge project. Normally, they're doing something on a smaller scale.
I'm excited
We need
about
to
it.
have the
I'm
schools in
very-
before
I
the
was
ground
surprised to
floors.
hear,
I'm very excited, but
I was surprised to hear him say by October, but
Well, his birthday is in January, and he wants it in before the ground freezes, so he needs to, and he hasn't started fundraising.
3 or 4 months of work, and that's it.
Because you have to be approved before you turn 18.
Well, you-
can't,
right,
you
you
can't,
have
you
to.
can't turn in the day before you turn 18 and then, because it takes a few weeks for it to be all blessed at the headquarters.
Let's all wish him good luck. Okay, any other discussion on this motion? There's a motion for 2 Eagle Scouts on the floor. Roll call, please.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes?
Okay, motion passes. Chief, any issues with Broad Street Tavern?
No. Nothing that I can see that would interfere with their permit.
All right, very good, sir. Additional citizens' comments. Anybody wish to speak tonight? All right, seeing none, we'll go roundy round, and we'll start with Suzanne.
First day of school for Southwest Licking, so pretty cool. Always like seeing it. It's exciting. Street fair, like you said, it was fun watching from the porch. Lots of kids on my yard. Just kind of fun. The whole experience of town. I love to watch people come home, people reminisce, and just like the true love of our city. Just like people love sharing memories and love sharing like why they love our town. So it was a fun week.
Mrs. Carter?
I have nothing.
Mr. Barstow?
Nothing.
Mr. Hickman?
I have nothing.
And Suzanne, you had mentioned to me earlier, and we'll work with not only the West Licking Firefighters Association, which I'm a member of, but also with Chief Brooks and the police force on next year on enforcing the no dog rule.
Yeah, that
So,
was, well,
it's getting
can I
late.
say something about
Yes,
that? I just had somebody bring a complaint to me that there was an awful lot of large dogs. And the dogs, anything can happen to them, but there's so many small kids and they're eating and there's food right in the eye of the dog. Kids are covered in sugar, drinks, food, whatever, and then we have all these animals that are like literally face to face with kids. So we had some concerns from people that had come up and just said, they're pushing strollers, several nice dogs, but they're climbing into strollers, they're seeing food. So I just feel like that could potentially be a huge disaster if we don't.
It's always been a rule at the street fair, but not enforced, and we'll
enforced.
take care of it, so thank you for your
Thank
input
you.
on that. Mr. Zets, you got anything?
No, I do not.
Mr. Powell?
I have nothing.
Mr. Lee?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Or
Got a motion and a second by Mr. Lee. Discussion and roll, please.
Carter?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hayes? Yes. Picken?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Motion, or, meeting adjourned.
Put your chairs down, Mr. Carter.
Please put chairs down. Oh, you need to yell at those.